GT Radio basically like took that platform.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!
And then had somebody get in Photoshop and redo it and post that as their teaser announcement, right? When I saw it, I was like, those motherfuckers didn't even tag me. That's totally my meme.
You're so vain, you probably think this meme is about you.
Yeah. At the time, I thought it was FD that did that. So I'm like, great, now they're copying me, you know? And then I was like, what are they going to do next? They're going to start their own podcast. And literally, I scrolled up and that was what I saw. I was like,
Welcome back to the #1 Drift Podcast on YouTube. I am Dawson.
I'm Nate.
And I'm Scott.
All right, so a few announcements real quick. Join the Patreon if you haven't already. You'll get access to ad-free podcasts and some behind-the-scenes content like vlogs and stuff. And we want to do sim stuff eventually once we get that figured out. But we'll throw a few clips in from the last vlog that we just uploaded so that you guys get a little sneak peek of it.
That's it. That's the kit. And it's been relatively reliable, but I would say not very competitive. I've been reluctant to change it because it's never really given me a problem. Well, yesterday when I was tandeming with a pro driver, it gave me a problem. Cash nicked my wheel here, which it's because he hates my black reps. No, I'm just kidding. You know I fucking hate fiberglass and I hate this bumper. I've asked KBD to make me a KBD Rocket Bunny bumper, but he always just sends me links to like steaks and stuff, so whatever. Everybody has gotten nicked on the shins by one of these things. Everybody has. So I'm gonna fix it. Oh no. All right, so that's what happened.
But look down below, check to see if you are subscribed. If that button is not clicked, go ahead and click it now because I don't know why you're not, because you're sitting here watching. But I told you this just a minute ago, but Enjuku Racing is now offering OE replacement fenders for S13s.
Metal.
Yeah, like actual metal fenders. They're dimpled and everything.
I saw that they're doing the Z32 calipers too. They offer front and rear ones.
Yeah.
So if any of you guys need any parts and want to support the podcast, use our link down below. But also grab the Kinda Kinda merch. I think I'm going to fuck this up, but I think it's a week after this podcast is when it ends. So get it while you can. We got flags, blankets, shirts, hoodies, crew necks, all sorts of stuff.
Dude, the one that I've seen the most of is the floor mats. Motherfuckers been buying the floor mats riding around with those. I'm
the floor mats are sick.
You guys are clowns, man. I mean, it's awesome, but also it's like in 10 years, someone's going to be like, what the fuck is that? You know? That doesn't make any sense.
Hey, you never know. We might be big enough.
Maybe. I'm just saying, like, imagine your girlfriend gets in and they're like, what does that say?
Hey, they may be worth something someday. Get them while you can. So use your 15% off code Kinda Kinda. Put that on the screen and in the description. But we just did a little bit of watching on the new FD podcast, which just came out, which we'll get into that a little bit later down the road. But let us know, or later in the podcast. God damn, I'm fucking up already. So let us know down in the comments before we get to that what you guys think about it. Are they trying to troll us, or are they doing it just so they have another voice?
They don't want to
Are we going to troll them? Most definitely. But this is Scotty. I'll let him introduce himself a little bit.
I guess I'm Scotty D. I'm the founder of Scotty D Race Development, and then just a drift dude. I've been in Formula Drift a little bit with Travis Reeder and Kevin Lawrence and Trent Beecham, and a little bit with Odie and some other people. But I've been around FD, been around in drifting for 9 years now. I literally just moved over here from California. I lived in the LA area for the last 7.5 years, and now I live in Bowling Green. So
what made you move?
So like that's like a long and a short. Scotty D Race Development formed a partnership with some other companies, and then all the manufacturing moved here. And so I came over here to continue doing the development and design of parts and get away from 7-digit houses that look like crap.
Yeah, I hear that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that shit sucks. Well, we'll get to your business in a little bit because I got a lot of questions for that.
Okay.
But what got you involved in drifting in the first place?
Well, I'm from Wisconsin originally. So I grew up there, and I got a V6 Mustang when I was 17 years old.
Shit, yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Open dude, it was I wish I'm so glad that people only know limited information about that car because I would get so much crap for it.
Sled, huh?
Dude, it was okay, so there is a story with that and I can make it quick, but so I had a V6 Mustang when I was younger, and then it would always snow, and it was my only car. So anytime there was a corner and it was snowy, I would just like let it rip. And we had ATVs, and I would drift those and everything. And so I didn't really know that it was a motorsport. I just liked doing it. And then as I got older, I saw more about drifting, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then when I had money to buy a drift car, I didn't have the V6 Mustang anymore. But I was like, well, a Fox body would be good because I don't like the way they look. So if I crash it into something,
You don't like Foxes?
That's the only style of Mustang I like.
No, I don't like them. They're too boxy. I don't really like any boxy cars.
To each their own.
They look
I don't like
completely
BMWs
different.
that much. I get a lot of shit for that.
Yeah,
They look completely different than any other Mustang. That's why I like them.
yeah, they look like an A86 but Americanized.
Yeah, it looks like a Dollar General
Very.
A86.
Yes,
Mustang guy's punching air right now. So I'm glad I said that.
But no, I mean, so I was like, okay, we'll look for a Fox body. It'll be cheap, and I won't care if I mess it up. And then like literally Craigslist, Wisconsin, first result, I had like price filters, Mustang, like first result was $19.99 Mustang GT. And I was like, a $99 for under $3,800 was my price limit. And I clicked it, and it was the same electric green color that my V6 one was, which is a super rare Mustang color.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy, I got to go check this thing out. Like it's meant to be. And I get up there, and the dude was like, yeah, I don't really know what's done to it. I think it might be cammed. And he starts it up, and it's just like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, I think it might be a little
I
bit.
had no idea what he had.
And I got it for $3,200. It made 285 wheel. And then I drove that thing with a trailer, fixed back race seats, gutted harnesses, and my motorcycle on the trailer from Wisconsin to California. And then throughout the years, it built it in. I've literally only had one drift car my entire life, and it's the Mustang that I have now. So, yeah, that's how I got into Mustangs too. Was like, I had one when I was younger, and I was like, well, I know how to work on them already.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what kind of parts I needed when I got started.
Sure.
And then when I was like, oh, what do people do? It was just like in the air. Like nobody did anything to them. They were just like, oh yeah, we kind of put these coilover sleeves on, or, somebody did something custom, but there was no parts available. And so I was like, well, I have an engineering degree. I think I can figure this out.
Oh yeah.
So that's how that got started. But yeah.
That's a cool story though.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So has prices on those types of Mustangs like increased exponentially like every other car?
No, so you have like the weird bubble. It's the same thing as BMWs. It's the same thing as like, I don't know, like an S chassis. I feel like it's probably the same thing where you have like the newer year dip.
Yeah.
So like Fox bodies are still way more expensive than like what I call a Barbie Mustang, which is 94 to 98.
Agreed.
And a 99 to 04. Like 99 to 04s are so cheap.
Yeah.
And then you get like the bastard child 05 to 09 that like it's a 3-valve and a S197, and those things are dirt cheap too. But Fox bodies are the most expensive actually right now, besides an S550 and a Coyote S197. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've seen like in the comments a lot of just people scared shitless of getting into drifting. So if you were to go back and completely start from scratch, like you didn't have the company, you didn't have the drift car, none of it, and completely get back into it, would you change any way you did it?
Well, I like making stuff. Even before I made the drift part company, I did custom motorcycle headlights, and that was like where Scotty D came from. And so anybody who knows me like longer than 7 years knows that Scotty D lighting came before Scotty D race development, and I used to do custom motorcycle headlights.
Oh my God, I think I've seen that before somewhere.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago though.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the headlight that's on my SV1000. Do you make one for that? It's like I made a bracket for it. It's just like a custom one.
Oh no, I would just retrofit the existing headlights. So put projectors in them and halos and everything. So
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of like custom ones, but I did some Mustang stuff too.
Nice.
But no, I like solving problems, so I wouldn't change going to a Mustang. But my advice, it's kind of bad because I have a business in it, but Mustangs are hard to drift. A straight axle car with a bunch of anti-squat is a very challenging car to drift. I think if you're a person who likes to take challenges head on, and you're like, oh man, I really like Mustangs, and absolutely go for it. I developed all the parts at this point that you need to make it not suck. But like when I got started, it was so hard to drift that car. Like it was just such a challenge. I think that like, I feel like a 240 owner and a 350Z owner, like it's too easy. Those cars don't make mechanical grip. And so like you can go out there and let it slap the lock stops and you're like, man, I'm freaking boogieing.
Yeah.
But if you try to do it in a Mustang, it just wants to go forward, you know?
Yeah, that's the design.
I will tell you, on a factory Z front suspension setup, you throw that thing to full lock, it don't want to come back.
Yeah.
It just wants to fall and stay there. Or at least that's how mine was. But
I mean, I've driven so many drift cars, and like the 350Z is like such an easy car to drive.
it is.
Yeah.
It's like a cheater car. It's just another one of the cheater
It's
cars.
the best bang for your buck, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, would I pick a different car? No. I like that I developed the stuff for the Mustangs and got into it. And now we've done it for the 3 chassis. So we have, Fox chassis, which is 79 to 04. It's all the same suspension. And then we have S197 stuff, and then S550 now, which I'm super pumped on. That's another cheater car. It's a party car.
I saw you post about Ben's car. Not too, wasn't. I think
Yeah, so we do the bash bars, but I also developed the angle kit for it, and oh my gosh, like those cars are crazy. It's 70 degrees of angle, and like you just let it rip, and it just
dude, that's a lot.
it's nuts.
Factory car.
Yeah, so we didn't even remove the fender liners. Like the fender liners are still in the car, like full interior. I made the handbrake just stick out of the console. All you see is the handle, and like the dual caliper brackets are super easy. So like the S550, I'm like, man, like if somebody's got money, like instead of LS swapping something and spending all that money, you're going to get to 20 grand one way or another. Like,
right.
Might as well have a car that has AC and windows.
That's a common misconception about me, is that I'm like, you need to buy a car and then LS swap it, and that's the way to do it. Like, that's not like,
that is true.
That's not really how I am. I'm like, dude, if you got the money, go buy a Corvette or a 350Z.
Yeah.
Do minimal stuff to make it drive good, and just go fucking raise hell the whole time.
Yeah. And Z prices are crazy now too, though.
Yeah. Well, unless you buy something that's pre 05, they're fucking terrible. I saw one the other day. It was like I'm not old. I don't know. How old are you?
32.
Okay,
Thanks
so
for exposing me. You never ask
I'm
a
the
lady
same
her age.
age. I'm the same. Listen, I'm the same age. I'm the same age. I'm a little old though, so like I'll see a Z car. When I bought my Z car, it was like 12 grand, right? And this was like in 2015. And this is gonna sound lame, but it was a convertible, and I thought that was cool at the time, right? That's how little I knew about it, right?
Gotcha, bitch.
Okay, so now skip forwards to like 2 months ago. I saw a 350Z. It didn't have taillights. It didn't have headlights. It didn't have the back hatch, and like didn't have door locks. Didn't have windows. The only window was the front one. And he was like $5,000. It runs and drives. And I was like, and at first I was like, that's not a bad deal. But in my head, I'm like, that's a fucking horrible deal. It's like, it's not even a car. It's doors and a motor. Like, it's crazy to me. And I'm like, dude, I'm falling for the tricks.
Yeah. I've honestly been curious how much someone would pay for my car, even though it's beat to shit. Like, it's been abused up front.
Yeah, but yours is one of those deals where the engine platform's worth almost.
Well, yeah, the engine sells the car. The car doesn't sell itself. That's
the irony of that statement. We're not even going to get into that.
I'm going to clip myself on that one.
See, and I'm like, I'm not have to worry about it. I'm like,
everybody wants the VQ.
No, his car's RB swap.
Mine's not VQ. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I'm RB25.
I agree though. That's like an in between motor. Most people are either like hell yeah VQ, or they're like, I fucking hate those trumpet things. It's always like one or the other.
I mean, it sounds terrible, but like it is a good engine. But like if you're gonna go through all the work of swapping something,
why do that motor?
Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Dude, Hunter's doing that in his AE86.
Hello, Boopa.
He's putting a VQ in it.
Yeah,
which it's kind of like a hi.
See, especially in AE, that's like K24 all day.
See, okay, so dude,
it is a little.
Dude, Boyer bought a motor. I think he bought the trans. I don't know that he bought the trans, but he bought everything almost to do that, and then he comes up and like, dude, you know how Boyer is, dude. He's almost as bad as me chasing the rabbit. So that he's like, dude, listen, you're gonna hate me, but I have this plan. And I was like, he's gonna turbo the K now. So now we're gonna do turbo K,
which would be cool.
Which would be very cool. But I'm on board. And he goes, I sold the KA. And I'm like, why?
No.
Why? And he goes, I bought a VQ. And I was like, I hate this story already. This is terrible. What are you doing? He was like, I bought a rotating assembly that's good for 1,400 horsepower. And I was like, all right, we'll see you in 2035, man. You know, like, but that's not really true. Boyer and Eric are fucking hustlers. They'll get it together. But it was just like when he was telling me, I was like, dude, you're doing the thing, Boyer. You're doing the thing, man. Just put the car together, you know?
Let me just put a
He's gonna get
disclaimer.
a lot of hate.
I said K24. None of your Nissan motors. I don't want any of that stuff.
I think that the KA is okay, and I like the K20 motors. I think they're cool. Like Jimmy Oaks' car, dude, that car is hard as fuck.
Didn't he do an EK or something in the rear wheel drive?
Yeah, with a Nissan motor.
yeah.
But then he did a K. I don't know if it's a 24. What's Jimmy's A86? Is it a K24 or K20?
I think it's a 24.
Okay, it made
Let us know in the
almost
comments
300
if we're wrong.
horsepower at like
Yeah.
almost 10 grand. Like.
Yeah.
I'm not like a purist type thing. And I was watching that video and I was like, fuck yeah, that's fucking sweet. You know? Like,
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. But yeah, so Hunter's going to do a 700 horsepower turbo VQ A86. So stay tuned for that whenever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He'll do it too. That's what's annoying. You know?
Oh, yeah.
I love Boyer. He'll do it though. Like he had that V8 twin turbo
Fucking
Miata.
350 Miata. wasn't
Yeah.
it?
Dude, it was a turbo 302 Ford
302.
motor.
That's what it was.
In a Miata.
Yeah.
And it was fucking really fast and it was very flexy and very cool. But if he told me before
Always
without
had
seeing
issues.
it,
Always. Every
Yeah.
time I saw him at the track, it was just issue after issue.
well, it's a Miata.
Well, okay. If we want to get on that topic, I think it's funny. Yeah, you're an LS dude, and my Mustang's LS swapped, and it's so funny being here because it seems as like the irony of Corvettes. Like I'm in Bowling Green, like Corvette Museum, and like GM or whatever. But there's so many Ford people, and I think it's so funny because like I have a Mustang, I make parts for Mustangs, and like I think they're cool cars, but the amount of people. Okay, I think it's so insane that you can LS swap a 240, and people are like, okay, you can do any swap, literally any swap. You can come and swap a Ford. You can KA24 350Z or K24 350Z. You can do literally any swap. RB a 350Z. You can 2J a 240. But as soon as you put an LS in a Mustang, people are like,
Oh, they lose their shit.
it is insane.
Yeah.
Henry Ford rolling over in his grave right now. I can't stand this. Fuck you. They're crazy.
It's so funny to me because I'm like, dude, I've had the Coyote versus LS discussion so many times, and I'm like, okay, Coyote, sure, it's good. It does power. It does the thing. It does the V8 thing.
Yeah.
But it's so big and complicated, and I would rather have, if I'm going to have a problem with the track, that I can do everything in my engine bay, and it's super easy.
Yeah.
And I can make 500 wheel horsepower on 10 grand.
While everybody screams.
Yeah. No, it's-
Yeah, I just always respond and say cope. I'm like, cope, bitch. You know, get mad. I don't give a fuck what you think.
Right.
Because I get a lot of hate
No,
for
we
that
live
too.
for that
Because
shit.
it's not probably not the same amount. I would say because Ford guys are they're knucking futz, man. That's the divide, right? There's just two types of people in the
Right.
world. Some of us
I
want.
get respecting the history of a car, but making a car like your entire world, like most of these people do, that's what I don't understand.
To me, I just want the shit to work right.
Right, I just
dude.
need it to
that's
do the thing.
I just want it to work good. Whatever is going to work good, that's what I want. Because the most thing that I want to do is go drive it.
I feel so left out on this
Right.
podcast most of the time because everybody's they just wants their shit to work. They don't really give a fuck what's in it.
Well,
I want things to be cool.
I feel like you saw my new motor. I mean, it's not like I don't give a shit about it, but also
Yeah,
like
the new motor's flashy.
there's a line, dude. There's a bell curve. Like you have to care, but at some point you got to be like, all right, I could order these headers that are fucking $1,000 from Hooker, or I could just order these $200 headers and weld V bands to them.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's
I
like,
agree.
you know, so
I have a fake Gretty intake on my car, which I
That's
didn't
what-
buy.
That's all I'm
Most bought
saying
that,
is
but-
like that's all I mean is that's where people get the whole LS thing. Like, oh, you just don't care about culture. Like, no, dude, I'd love to go to Japan and check out all that cool shit. That doesn't mean that I don't want my race car
Yeah.
to do. The
I mean, people
thing
don't
that-
realize that like half the Japanese drifters would give a body part.
Oh yeah,
for an LS engine.
for
Yeah.
sure. Oh, dude,
I love the irony
the
of that.
Nokia guy
Back and
coming
forth.
on and fucking, dude, that was awesome, dude. The Aaron
Naoki.
Losey, Naoki, he came on and said,
yes.
he's like, I think probably if I could have a car back home, it would be an LS Sylvia. They have their problems, but the LS is definitely my favorite. And dude, I was watching it. I don't ever get excited about shit like that. And I was like, yes,
I mean,
we won. yeah.
ultimately, like, it's so basic to say, but like, I built my car to use it, right?
Yeah,
like,
same.
I honestly, like, my favorite part about, like, because I've been doing this since 2013, but I do pink and green on everything. And it makes people like, so like, but why'd you do pink and green? Why is it pink and green?
Yeah, is there a reason?
Why? But pink? Why pink? And I'm like, because I like it. I don't know.
Stands out.
Like, it's what I like. It's literally my color scheme. I've done it for 10 years now. Like,
Yeah.
Works for
but
the
it's like
factory.
seeing somebody else get so like uncomfortable based on like what I did to my car, especially like the function parts. Like, people look at my car and they go LS, like, oh, why'd you do LS? I'm like, because it freaking works,
Yeah,
man.
serviceable.
Like, why'd you put IRS on your car? I'm like, because it feels better to me. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? I'm like, because it all works. That's what I care about. I don't really care about your opinion. Like, I'm gonna build what I want.
Do we have a shirt for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says, it's got imagine carrying how another man spends his money, and then it's got our logo.
I mean, I'll give people crap about
It's got a skull head smoking a
that's right.
joint.
Yeah.
See, the thing is where I draw the line, I've heard you talk about it before. I will give people crap for doing visual things that impede on performance.
Agree.
Like the camber thing, or like
I can agree.
way too low, or like
Yeah, we made the low origin guys mad because I said I don't really understand the whole point of slamming a car to unusability, and then they were all like, "Cause it looks cool," and I was like, "Well, I don't care. I mean, I care that it looks good, but nobody puts coilovers on their car and raises it. It always goes lower, and it's always going to look better."
I'll tell you this. This is what I've always told people when they have this argument. I think function always looks good.
Right.
Because it works good. Something that works really well always looks good. But
Agreed.
something that looks good doesn't always work well. So you better aim for it to work really good first.
And then work on it after.
Yeah, and then
Majority of those guys just think it's a rolling car show, so they're not like
Right.
they're not even really there for the performance aspect of
Right.
it. They just care to slide around one corner, get as close as they can, straighten
Dude,
out a little bit.
sling
and
rocker.
then-
that
yeah,
guy
like,
in
it's
the
not really-
LS400 at the opener. Did you see that guy? Oh my God. You didn't see that LS400?
No, what do you do?
Dude, it was like cut springs and he would come down the hill and it was just like,
Oh, yeah. Dude, Clarksville's the shit, though.
Look
dude.
like he's on
I love
hydraulics.
Clarksville.
oh my God. It was so funny. Did you
Dude.
see my hot take that I said? I posted on my story. I said, oh, no, I posted on Facebook. I said, I think I saw people wear out their front tires more than the rear tires at the Clarksville opener.
So I have only driven my car to Clarksville one time. And that was before it was like super race car. It still had interior, still had factory seats. It still had the fucking buckle you up thing still worked. Like it was not a race car yet. It was just LS swapped. I drove it up there and I was so fucking miserable that I never did it again. Okay. Well, then I trailered it up there and I was so happy that I trailered it. I was like pumped. I was unloading my car. Everybody was standing around or whatever. And this dude goes, and I had talked to him right before he went. He was driving a blue G35 that was like minty. It was a really nice car. Comes flying down the hill, turns his wheels, locks them down, and smashes into a barrier. I mean, dude, it's the first run of the day. Like it's the day setter, dude. He's like, what? And we're like, oh. So then I go over and I was like, hey man, how far did you drive from? And he's like, Memphis.
Oh my God.
Dude, he drove like 6 hours for Clarksville and then wiped his shit out.
Dude,
and I
yeah.
was
on the
like,
first lap.
I'll never.
yeah. Dude, anyways, I think the reason why is because it was one of those super low boy cars and he
Yeah.
bottomed out at the bottom of the hill, lost traction,
Yeah.
got on the brakes, and instead of lifting and turning, Zygmunt, you should have zagged, whatever. I'm not
Yeah.
making fun of you. That's terrible. I hope you got home. But dude, it was like,
Hey, you got to be able to make
The
fun of
crazy thing
yourself.
is I bet a lot of those people that have the really slam cars, if you put them in a proper car, they drive really well.
oh, dude, I can
feel
give you an
like-
example.
yeah.
Tony Jackson.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, I watch.
No, I feel
don't watch
that.
as
I
much,
feel that. I
sorry.
mean, that's where like I've always like I almost don't want to expose the secret, but like I preach sim so hard because it teaches you to like mess with setup and like you ignore all those variables of like blown out ball joint or a damper is shot or like your toe is wrong or an inner's bad or your diff isn't locking up, or you ignore all those variables of like being a noob and not knowing that your car isn't
definitely
perfect.
did.
And then you're just focusing on driving. And then when you go drive a real car and you're like, this feels like shit. Like, because I know what it feels like to drive like an ideally perfect car. I know that this thing feels like crap. And now I'm just going to make the adjustments to the car instead of trying to like, you know, because there's a lot of people that go out there and like, man, like they get so dejected because they think they're bad. And like, I think it's so funny when people like, they'll see me and they think, oh, Scott drives so well. Let him drive my car. Like, Justin always does that every single time. Justin's like, drive my car, man, drive my car. And I'm like, your car terrifies me, Justin. Like, I did it and I made laps, but I was like, I never want to drive this thing. Like, it is so scary. The steering wheel just has so much dead play because it's a steering box.
Pitman arm.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I'm a half price hot boy.
But no, I mean, like, that's the thing is like people will be like, oh man, Scott, you can drift really well. Go drift my car. And I'm like, chances are this is going to go bad.
Yeah, you're not going to like it.
Yeah, well, I'm probably not going to look very good doing it either. A, it's not my car. I'm not going to push it to the limits. But B, like the setup is probably whack. And like
Stefan said that pretty well. He said some people fight the car and some people realize they don't have to fight the car.
yeah, but I think you need a frame of reference. Though.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like the sim does give you a really good frame of reference. So what you could build, you could build your car as like a guy just in your garage. You could build that. But then go out and then like drive like ass and be like, I'd be like so embarrassed because you built like a crazy car like that. And then you're like driving like crap and not even be that bad of a driver. It's just like maybe you didn't measure your caster because you don't own a $300 caster camber gauge. And one side's like 7 and one side's like 3 because you just forgot, you did something goofy or whatever. And so when you get that frame of reference from sim and then you go drive a real car, you're like, something doesn't feel right. Like I think I'm going to like look at what's going on because it doesn't feel right. I feel a little wiggle and I know that it's not, the angle kit, like it's all tight. Maybe the inner is shot or something. And then you jack it up and you check everything.
you look
you're
at
like,
it.
oh, okay, cool. But I think you really do need that frame of reference, like what a good car feels like. And it's really hard to do that in real life with somebody else's car because then you're afraid of messing their shit up.
I think that is why people say start with a stock car. They don't realize that's why they're saying it, but they're saying to start on a car that doesn't have anything so you have a frame of reference, maybe.
I was going to say also, I think that resembles well to us saying how if you start in a car, it doesn't reference to the sim.
Oh, yeah, it's a one-way
If you
street.
start in a sim, you can notice the difference in a car and like how it feels weird. When I start in a car, that's how I did. So I went to a sim on yours and I was like, dude, this is trash. Like I can't feel it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I puked
VR.
because the VR and shit. And like I couldn't feel any of the car. So everything just felt wrong. So I couldn't grasp it mentally.
Well, that's probably just a frame rate issue. So talk about new drifters. Like to me, there's a breaking point in learning how to drift that I don't think many people are aware of. But it's the point from where you go to, I just did a run. I don't really know what I did in that run, but I know that I was drifting and I know that I made it around the track. To the point where you're at, like, I left foot brake there, I clutch kicked there, I added angle there, I was in the zone, I left the zone a little bit early, I left the zone late, I added angle at the wrong spot, I handbraked here, and you know everything that happened in the run because your brain is finally
Logging it.
at the point where you can process it that
You're
fast.
past the second nature part. So you're kind of moving just off reflex.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that like, again, I won't preach sim too hard, but like before I got on the sim, like that's how my runs were. I was just like, I did a run. I don't really know what I was doing. I know that I drifted and I know I did something. I don't know where I was. My vehicle awareness was bad and my control was bad. And then, I mean, right now I'm at like 1,200 hours on Assetto. So, yeah.
I have a lot of hours on a setup
yeah.
also.
But now, like, you can put me in any car and I'm like, I just know what's going on, And it's funny too because it looks more and more boring the better that you get because you're just like, I like wave to people and like.
Yeah, I'm bad about that. I got in trouble at National Super Speedway for stick my arm out the window. I was like pointing at cameras and stuff.
But no, I think like if we talk about new drivers, man, like I think most important thing that I could say for anybody who's new is like, don't be afraid of tire pressure. Like,
Yeah, air them up.
go way above what you think. Like 90 PSI is fine. If you have a 120 horsepower car or under 200 horsepower, you should be like, I mean, under 235 and above 60 PSI. Like just to get good, just to know like what the car feels like, because that's the problem with the Mustang is it had so much forward drive that like it was just like if you weren't in it, it wasn't drifting, and it was so scary and hard to learn. But then you get like a 240 or a 350Z, and you can like lift in drift and it stays drifting, and you can like roll off in transition. It doesn't snap you around and everything, and you can like have a lot more room for those errors when you have less grip. And then like work the grip in. I think that a lot of people just go out there and they're like, I don't know, 40 PSI, and they have like 235, like, I don't know, back in California, it was like federal RSRs or whatever. And like 40 PSI on like even a 235 40 was like a lot of grip for a low horsepower car. And so that's where like for me, I'm just like, yeah, dude, just jam the tire pressure up and go learn it that way first and then work it in, you know? But I think a lot of people worry about like, you know, because one of my favorite things that newer people say, they think that they already like they're good at drifting. They think they're in that like teenage phase, I would call it, of drifting, and where they're like, yeah, I know, and they're like, bro, I don't get it, man. I was out there with like Nathaniel in his 500 horsepower car, and I was dooring him, and like you watch the run, and they're just cutting the whole line, and like, and you're like, dude, it's not the same. Or they're like, I was running away from him, and they're just like missing every zone or whatever, and it's like, dude, priority number one, get in the zones, make it fluid, and then the speed and the like skill and style that comes in after that, like that's totally secondary. I mean, I was a spotter for FD for 3 years, and like one of the people that I spotted for was always like, did you get spotters help? And I was like, dude, you didn't even get the zones. Like, I'm not going to go ask the judges for help for you when you're not even fulfilling the very core principle of like getting in the zones. So like that's anytime.
Brutal.
I've been a jerk anytime.
I'm for it. I was just,
I
just imagine hearing that in my car. I'd be like, fuck you, Scott.
You're supposed to do a job.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like that's priority number one. When anybody like is like, oh, I want to go like grip up or like do this, or I need this, or I need more horsepower or whatever. It's like, are you killing it in the zones fluidly already? And if you're not, then that's all you need to focus on.
The hard thing about Clarksville is there isn't really a zone. There is an outer on the outer loop.
Yeah.
But dude, it's like,
well, so I've talked a lot of crap about the layout that you guys have there, because the initiation and the first outer, like nobody does it the way that I think it's done right. And so actually me and Matt, my business partner, Matt Glasscock, we were on Assetto, and I was like, let me run like a layout that I think will promote driving the right way. And I have like this gangster layout that I want to do and paint zones in it so that like it promotes people being in them. But I think, you have to know what you're aiming for. Yeah. You know, and
are you talking about the first outer zone at the top of the hill or the bottom?
The bottom.
Okay.
So I want to start from the other side. Like the exit, I want to start from the exit and then make that outer zone higher, and then make another outer zone way out by the
telephone
pole and the fence.
Yeah.
So I don't run the very top outer zone, and it's because I've seen somebody crash there before. And then, like I said, that other
sounds like he's scared.
I love running
It is my first
it looks like
shakedown.
you're gonna fall off the cliff.
And I did end up crashing it. So, but I was just saying that was my very first event, and like I'm not even gonna lie. Like I barely ever run the bottom of the hill. If you cut it right there, it's like a jump, and it makes for cool videos. So that's the reason I do it. And the other reason that I saw that dude in that blue G35 fucking just crash right into the
But
stuff.
that's where, again,
I don't like how it doesn't look like the car moves smoothly if you don't take the wide line at the bottom of the hill.
Yeah.
I think it looks like you're basically just
transition.
falling on the front wheel and then just throwing it around, and it looks like the car is just jerking itself. It doesn't look very good.
That's not fluid.
Is what I like the way I see it.
That's where, like, again, like I think, you know, you want to draw as big of arcs as you can. But so it's so ironic. People always think like, oh, well, I don't want to do that thing because it's dangerous in drifting. And it's really the other way around. Like if you widen that out, then you're already driving away from the fence by the time you get to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people do that. The Englishtown, the Gambler, is my favorite track because it is drifting technique 101. And even the pros, like the whole like Ryan Turk and Sorensen, like that controversial thing was because Turk straight lined that transition and then handbraked at the last second and slowed down a bunch, and Sorensen was just following him through it. And he can't see where he's going, right? Like
smoke,
he's just in the smoke line. And when Turk slowed down a bunch, that's when he hit him because he was expecting like a fluid motion through there. So with Clarksville, I want to like make that more S-y at the top and then actually wrap back around to the close zone and then flip around back the other way.
We do run it backwards, and when you run it backwards, you come down the straight, and you like
you manji the straight and then towards the pond and then flick it back in.
I don't really manji the straight, but I like go really fast, and then I try and get as close to the pond, and then do the cut over like that. And there's also not marked zones, and so like
I think that's what I said. I'm gonna bring Kansas spray paint next time if I have to.
I always use
they'll
on
let you.
the reverse layout. I always use that little line. You know what I'm talking about? The little drain line going down the straight.
Yes.
It's like a concrete line going through. I always use that as my initiation point. I'd get all the way over to the right, initiate towards the pond, and then flick back once I got to it.
So
and it would take me really wide, and then you get that nice like pocket. So whenever if you come around through the middle to the first outer zone in the front, you'll get that nice pocket where people can come right up on your door and just follow you the entire way.
Yeah, and I think the reason they stopped doing the reverse run up is because it just packs the pits.
Like, it's horrifying.
I mean, honestly, it's not if you could just tell everybody where to park, but it's Clarksville, so it's a fucking nightmare, you know? You're just like, dude, if you can get your fucking truck in there and you can get your car off the trailer, it's like, oh, drop it here, you know? It's just dumb.
Half the time I would show up late to Clarksville, and I'd just pull literally right over the drag strip, park it pointing at everybody else's trucks, and just unload right there, and then that's where I would pick, because nobody would ever be over there.
Yeah. I love Clarksville, though. It's like,
it's fun.
Dude, it's grassroots paradise.
It's super fun.
It is great. But I did want to get back into your company a little bit.
Yeah.
What parts have like worked out the best for you?
Yeah. So the quick angle kit for the 79-04 was still is a huge hit. It's just a really cost-effective kit that's really easy to install and gives you, everything that you're going to get out of that car. Obviously Chelsea has it on his Fox body, and we did it for Ken Block's daughter Leah when they did that Vanilla Ice Fox body.
Dude, she's driving in the Cletus race.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Damn, that's sick.
But yeah, no, I mean, that kit is just like butter for those cars. It feels really good. I run it on my car still. And I drive the crap out of my car, so I don't have any issues with it. And then like now getting into doing the more advanced, like full interior handbrake options for the S197 and the S550, I think that those are going to be like really hot items, just because, keeping the full interior, especially like a 2015 and newer car, you don't want to gut the interior of your car. And there's other options out there that I've seen, and I won't name who they are, but like, it's just the assumption that you pull your whole center console and like don't have one, and it looks bad. So I wanted to like take the time to like really figure it out. And, I had like OEM vehicle CAD to work with. So I'm like,
oh, really?
Yeah. So it was really cool to develop that one because it came out perfect first try and feels great. So, I think that everything that we make is really good, and we try to make it as affordable as possible. Like our S550 kit is the cheapest one on the market, and I think it's arguably, I'm a little biased, but I think it's one of the best. I think it's got really ease of replacement parts. It's got adjustable Ackerman. It's got roll center correction, and 70 degrees of angle. So
whole 9 yards.
Yeah. So I think that I aim to make everything as good as it can be, or as the best that it can be from my experience and my knowledge in engineering. But also like manufacturability, we really aim to make it like something that's accessible for everybody. We're not going to make stuff billet if it doesn't necessarily need to be, but if it's reasonable for us to make it billet, then we will. And we have all the manufacturing resources in house. So it works out really well.
That's nice. What's been like the hardest part of making your own parts? Like what along the process?
So when I first started, I mean, I was just a dude in my house and I had friends that were kind enough to help with manufacturing. But there was so many manufacturing limitations when I first started that I had to make stuff like what I could, like laser cut plate and welded and whatever. And then we got into CNC stuff and that kind of like opened up another door. But it was also like, I didn't have all the money in the world. This company's always been bootstrapped, never funded. I've always been bootstrapped, like all my own money. I worked while I started the business. I was an engineer full time, and then I would do this in my free time and ship stuff out of my house.
That's dedication.
So like, it was always like balancing, like trying to make the best things for people, but also not going broke doing it. I mean, I probably, even before it came over here and like in 2020, I was still stocking like $20,000 in inventory, and that was just me out of pocket in that inventory. Now we're way higher in inventory costs than that, but we're also doing way more sales than that. I mean, the sales number has been awesome. It's been really cool to watch the growth and to know it's all organic. We're not paying for advertising with anybody. We're not like, we're not forcing anything. It's all word of mouth, and it's all been bootstrapped. So it's like the coolest way to start a business is to like just let it grow itself.
That's how you know it'll last. That's for sure. What besides the money part of it, obviously that's very rewarding, but what's been the most rewarding part of owning your own business and seeing people use your parts and all that?
I mean, it is surreal, it is surreal to know that like if you name somebody who drifts a Mustang, I probably have a part in their car. But it's also just cool to create a solution for people who didn't already have a solution, like a lot of the things that I've made, I've been like, well, I want that, but it doesn't exist, and so most of the time it was me creating something that I thought I would want and then taking the initiative to make it repeatable after that. So every time I would design something for myself, I would design it in a way that I knew I could then roll it forward and have it be a saleable product. But it's just rewarding to see that people are that they're into what you're doing and that it's helping other people kind of do the fun stuff that we like to do.
I like that. If you ever want to make some RB to 350Z mounts, let me know, because mine are some Yeet boys.
I mean, that's the good news, by the way. I will make the explicit clarity here that we are branching into other chassis this year. It's not just Mustang boys.
What can we hope to see in the future then?
So more American stuff for sure. I think that like there's a market for that, and it's also, we're in the heart of
definitely
the United States, and to try and like
here in Tennessee, you'll definitely have a market.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, coming over here is like, man, there's Mustangs and Corvettes and Camaros everywhere.
Everywhere.
So definitely going to do that. And then there is a Magic chassis that seems to be very popular that I kind of want to start to play with because I own one. So I drove it here.
Sick.
Yeah. Oh, great. All right. Okay. So you don't want to say it then?
No, I don't. It's E46. I really want to like take a look at them and see if there's anything that we can do. Obviously, the market's super saturated with parts from really good companies, and I have no shame in saying that. Like, I know SLR jams on those cars. Obviously, I've worked with Travis Reeder, and he swears by them, and he drives the wheels off that thing. So, my goal isn't to step on anybody's toes or like say anything different. I like to design stuff, and I want to take my own whack at it.
The car that I've seen that people are starting to pick up now is the A90 Supra. A lot of those are coming up on auction. I saw one the other day for like 25 grand.
I think that's why TJ Hunt and LZ are diving into those quick.
Yeah, I saw where LZ
TJ is doing the like completely factory engine setup and stuff for the Supra, making it a fully built drift car for like Pro-Am and stuff. And then LZ is doing...
Well, he's got the four rotor, and then he bought one, and then he machined down the inner part of the tie rod so that it would clear into the rack.
Oh, yeah, he's working on making his own angle kit. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like a bolt-on GK Tech angle kit for the Z, something kind of similar to that.
But I keep seeing the videos from Australia where those guys are like sending it down a back road. And, there's other people that are driving them at tracks and stuff. So maybe that one would be one you could look into.
Yeah.
No, for sure. It's a good car. I mean, I could nerd out on suspension all day. The reason I don't like those cars is 5-link rear with no anti-squat, and then it's hella pro dive in the front. And like, S550 is also pro dive, which makes a car handle way different than you expect it to on brakes and everything. But it's still a cool car. The short wheelbase. I don't know if many people are aware. Do you know what the wheelbase is on an A90?
No.
It's pretty short, isn't it?
I
Okay,
imagine
so do you know what your 240
It's
is?
just barely more than a Z4, right?
Okay, so a 240 is like 100 inches, dead nuts. An S197 and an S550 Mustang are 107-inch wheelbase. This is funny. No, most people don't know this. A90 Super is 96 inches.
it's a little bitty.
Wow.
Okay, do you know what the Dodge Viper is?
No, I have no idea.
96 inches. Isn't that insane?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't realize Vipers had such a short wheelbase.
That is crazy.
Damn,
no,
something
I didn't
never
know
really
that.
think
Though.
about.
It's good to know.
Yeah, and that's why like it does make Osbo's driving a little more impressive. I'm sure they stretched the wheelbase out a little bit and the over fenders are like moved and stuff. But you know,
Think so?
I would I don't know, maybe.
I don't know.
But 96-inch wheelbase is very finicky car, you know, comparative to 107. You know, Chelsea and Vaughn and
Have you?
all this.
This is one of the questions I was going to ask you. Have you driven one of those cars, the RTR cars?
No.
No. Everybody says they're. I don't know that many people that have driven them, but I've heard from everybody that they are a handful, that they are difficult to drive.
So the way that they set them up is you can modify rear suspension points. I'm not going to give away all their secrets, but you can modify rear suspension points in FD. So they modify them to get more anti-squat out of them, and to fix roll center and things like that. But the thing with like Mustangs, I think the problem that people have is that the steering's really slow on those cars. But it's because they go so fast, like the steering speeds up as you go faster, right? So like on slow speed stuff, they have to wheel it. If you watch Chelsea's video at like Englishtown, he's literally bus driver in it everywhere. Because it's not that fast of a track. But like on a fast track like Atlanta or Utah or anything like that, the steering speeds up, and so it's like reasonable instead of it being like super fast when you're going fast. So I think that's usually where the difficulty lies. And then they're just it's an interesting chassis. S550 is a very weird chassis, and they've done a lot to those cars to make them not like a stock one, but even driving a stock one is very interesting. And they're fun to drive, but it's not like the same as what you would expect.
Yeah, I would imagine not.
Well, a little bit about your cars. How many do you have? Because I was scrolling through your Instagram. It looks
Tell
like
us
you
about
got
the asset
quite
right
a
now.
bit. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I have three.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, I have 3 cars, and then my business partner Matt has a bunch of cars. But so the S550, I'll just say that's Matt's car, but I drove it at Nashville last year, and then if we do demos and fun stuff, I'll probably drive it a little bit more. So that's not my car, but I've driven it and I get to drive it. My daily driver is an E46 wagon that's 3-liter and manual swapped.
Sick.
Hard.
That thing's been all over the US. I drove it to Washington from LA, and then I drove to Salt Lake City for FD, and I drove to Zion, and then I drove out here when I moved. So that car's been all over the place, and it's a champ. I love that
Wagons are best.
thing. Dude, it's the jam.
So good.
And then my fun car is a Aston Martin V8 Vantage. It's a 6-speed manual, 4.3 liter. It's got BC coilovers, ESR forged wheels on it. Every bit of carbon that I could buy for it that costs more than probably both of your guys' cars put together. No, it's that car is ridiculous, but it's a blast. And
It looks like you drive the living shit out of it.
yeah, I bought it to drive it. I mean, that's the thing. That's what I wanted to do. You know, I was on the fence about buying it, and I talked to like the most reasonable people that I knew in LA. I thought people like these are people that are going to be like, absolutely not, don't buy that car. And they were like, you should definitely buy that car. And I was like, well, if these people are telling me that I should buy this car, then I'm going to. And it's fun, man. It's a blast. That car it's super nice. The suspension's really nice on it. The engine's pretty crazy. It's dry sump factory.
Sick.
Yeah. So like the whole engine's behind the front strut towers. It's transaxle, a bunch of anti-squat, a bunch of anti-dive, double wishbone front and rear.
Have you done anything to it besides the carbon stuff? Is there any?
So it's BC coilovers, ESR 3-piece forged wheels. I modified the headlights. So I, of course, doing the headlight stuff I was talking about, I put halos and color changing strips in it. I put a V12S grill in it, V12 front bumper with a carbon fiber splitter, which is way too much money. Carbon fiber duckbill from ACR Aston Martin. Clear taillights, which cost $1,200 used. Carbon fiber taillight inserts, carbon fiber side strakes. I made a custom head unit panel because there was no companies that made like a radio install because they're all fiber communication. So I had to like figure all that out on my own. But I have a 10.5-inch touchscreen Android head unit in it now.
Is it fiber optic or did you change it to
I
wire?
bypassed. Yeah. So
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I one time I was working on one of those older Mercedes, dude, and I was like trying to help my buddy, and I was trying to cut into a wire harness, and I clipped one of those optic things, and I was like, "What the fuck is that, man?" And he was like, "I don't know. It's probably just." He's like, "It's probably just some wire." I was like, "It don't look like wire to me." And we tore that car up, dude. It was fucked up.
Yeah.
It was like his mom's
Don't the
car.
Skies have that shit too? The fiber optic?
I think one of them does. I just always remember like anything fiber optic. I'm like, nope. That don't have anything to do with it, you know?
Dude, it's funny because like, so they call it's 07 and they call it the Gaydon era Aston Martin. So it was when Ford owned Land Rover, Aston Martin, Jaguar, Volvo. So all electronics in that car are Volvo. Even my replacement key fob that I got from the dude says Volvo on the back of it. So I was like, well, I mean, process of elimination. An 03 Volvo would equal an 07 Aston Martin. Obviously, if you understand like engineering lag time and things like that. So it's like, what 03 Volvos have fiber optics in them? And so it was like an X60 or XC60 or something. And I was like, fiber optic bypass. And I literally, all I had to do was change one wire. And the bypass wire length was perfect from the back of the Aston where the amp was all the way up to the head unit. And then I changed one wire and it was the trigger wire. And everything worked right.
Wow.
That's awesome. I did not know that there is a lag time of that long, 4 years. I didn't know that was.
Well, you think about it, it's like Aston Martin took what they could, you know. I think that's another thing that people get misconstrued. They look at a supercar and they're like, that thing must be nice. And I was like, dude, a Honda Civic is miles nicer than a 458 or anything because of the production numbers and the engineering cost. So they did it smart. Ford basically handed all the resources to Aston Martin and said,
here, do whatever.
Yeah, use what you can to put it together. But I mean, the car, like, very lackluster interior, like, it's not impressive, but handling wise and performance wise, it's insane. 380 horsepower from a 4.3 liter. Goes to, I don't know, it's somewhere above $7,000. It screams. Of course, put cat deletes and muffler deletes on it, so it's the loudest Aston.
I've got to ask, is it a supercar thing for like the vibrant, like wild looking wheels?
Well, when I bought the wheels, that was okay.
You see that a lot on supercars. I don't know if that's like
I'll put it into perspective. My drift car Mustang when I bought it new was $3,200. I paid $6,400 for my wheels. The most I've ever paid for a wheel before that was $130. I am cast wheel boy all day.
Yeah.
But I could not justify putting one piece, even forged wheels, on an Aston Martin. So, plus the offsets are all crazy. Aston Martin factory offsets, I think it was 19 8.5 front plus 52. Wait. Rear, 19 9.5 plus 62.
Oh my God.
So I did all the internet research on all the forums and I was like, who's got the most gnarly fitment? And I one-upped them a little bit. So my fronts are now 19 9.5 35 and the rears are 19 10.5 40.
Damn.
That's crazy. That's like the Scion, dude. The Scion.
I'm all for the 3-piece. I love that. I was just curious about like the color thing.
Oh, I just like green, dude. I love pink and green.
Because it kind of does stick out like a sore thumb because the car's just black. But
yeah. No, I love it. And then everybody's like, you copied.
I was just curious. I don't know. I see it all the time on supercars. I don't know fucking dog shit about supercars. What?
I'd like to drive one.
Well, it's fun.
I bet.
Come drive it, dude.
I bet.
I don't care.
No, dude, don't do that.
We had a McLaren at when I worked at Mannheim, the auction. It was one of the lime green ones sitting in the showroom, and I walked in there. I was like gonna open the door and shit, and I got up to it, and like it's all wrapped in carbon fiber and all this crap, and I was like, I better not do that. I was like 17 at the time. I was like, I'm gonna fuck something up somehow. I'm not touching this thing.
Yeah, people always want me to drive their cars when I go to like events, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to. Because
I mean, you can drive it down the street. Like I'm not gonna let you like mob it down a canyon road or something.
No. I mean, I would do that. I just meant I was just talking about other people. Like people would be like, dude, drive my car, like you were talking about. And then I was like, I don't think so because
that's a real thing.
I'm really good at breaking stuff. Like, dude, I'll break
bring
stuff.
him a fucking like $40,000 240, and they're like, drive this, drive it.
No, I don't want to. You know, I'm gonna break it.
That's super funny. I gotta put the disclaimer out there. Anybody who gives me crap about copying Vaughn with the bright green, I had bright green wheels on my Honda Civic in 2008, well before
I
Vaughn
didn't
was
even
even
think about that.
sponsored by Monster. So
Yeah.
just got to set that bar straight. I've liked lime green for a long time.
You heard
Monster,
it here.
get out this guy.
Vaughn Gittin Jr. copied him. All right, so no, I'm just kidding.
Moving on.
No, I'm just kidding.
Pew, pew, pew.
No. But we don't need the notes to talk about your car. Tell us about your drift car.
All right. So the third car, my third car is my drift car, 1999 Ford Mustang. It is LS2 swapped, 6-liter aluminum, not a poor boy. T56 Cobra independent rear. It makes 500 wheel. Holley Terminator standalone. Extreme dimensions hood over fenders. Kansai wheels currently. But there's some changes this year. Got some sponsors coming on board, and we're going to change some stuff around. But yeah, it's exciting. It's a fun car, man. It's rowdy. Like, it's way faster than it seems it should be for what it is. It's 2880 without me in it. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's a lot lighter than I expected.
Yeah, it's lighter than my car.
I must say, well, Fox chassis, the Fox body's a little bit shorter, but SN and New Edge are 101.3, so it's a little snappy, like a 240.
Gotcha.
But you know, if people watch Chelsea's videos, he talks about how he liked the straight axle and doesn't like the IRS, but I love the IRS. It makes the car feel so much better. And I mean, there's still anti-squat in it, and you can make so many more adjustments. So no, it's a blast. I've had it, you know, like I said, that's my only drift car, and built it from what it was to what it is. And
Is it an unopened LS3?
No. It's forged pistons, forged rods. It's got headwork and a cam and everything. So
Oh, you're big fancy.
yeah. It was a $10,000 engine.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's sick.
Definitely not a half price hot boy.
No. It's like, dude, I think my entire driveline setup was like $3,000 maybe.
It's so funny. I guess I'll try to make this story as short as possible, but there was a Black Friday deal on Extreme Dimensions for over fenders. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy those because I want them in case I mess up the back end of my car. And that turned into, okay, let's tube the back. You know, so if I need a crumple zone or whatever. The irony is I've never touched the back bumper on anything, which makes me so mad. I've got like, you know, this close 9,000 times, but never scuffed the back bumper. It's very annoying. But so like, okay, tube the rear. But then I was like, okay, well, we have to fuel cell it. And then I had a 4.62 valve in it, which is returnless. And so I was like, well, how do I make it return style? And then it was like $1,000 to make it return style. So I was like, well, I'm going to bite the bullet and LS swap it. And then I bought a 6-liter and I took it to a shop and I was like, can you just clean it up? And they're like, everything's crap. And I was like, okay.
They lied to you.
So then I was like, all right, well, we might as well build the engine. And then it became a $30,000 build with like, you know, Switch Pros, solid state control panel, the Holley Terminator, like a $550 optic armor rear window. You know, that car is built to the moon. It was a gem when it was done. It was just like, to me, it should be a Forza car. Like, it is so nice.
That's what I always tell people is like, why'd you build your car like that? I always say it's like, I don't know, man. A 13-year-old me would think I'm the shit. That's why.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, like, even the wiring, like, you look in my car and you can't see wiring. And then I made a little airbag delete panel on the passenger side, you know, like the double hump Mustang thing, and you pop it out and the ECU's right there. And dude, I spent so much time building that car and I'm so proud of it. But I definitely, like, if I build another drift car, it's not going to be a Mustang chassis. I mean, which is ironic because I make Mustang drift parts, but I really want to build an E46, and the wagon I don't think is going to be the one, but there are things coming for the wagon that might make it be the one.
Oh, hell.
Nice.
Don't ruin the wagon. No.
It's so minty too. Like, it is such a minty daily. Yeah, I don't really want to, but
There was one dude that came out to Mid-Pond that had, I think it was a Jay-Z swapped BMW wagon, but it was like a 07 or something. I don't know my BMW, so I don't know exactly what trim it was. Okay, so yeah. That was a cool ass car. It was fully caged, and he was actually towing it with a Colorado.
that's amazing.
Yeah. A Colorado and a tiny aluminum trailer.
Yeah. I used to tow with an Avalanche in California.
Ah, it's just a baby Silverado.
Dude, Avalanche is the best truck ever.
I like Avalanches. I had a guy tell me the other day, he was like, or it wasn't a guy that told me this. He sent me a meme. Dude, I don't know if you get sent memes, but I get sent all day, dude. It's like most of my DMs are memes because I make memes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so somebody sent me, it's like, imagine thinking an Avalanche is a truck. And I responded and I was like, yeah, man, there's way bigger evils. Like, people say that Ridgelines are trucks.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, the Avalanche, okay, I could give a 30-second pitch on the Avalanche. It's 4-link rear, which makes it way more comfortable than a leaf spring truck. It's got the same 5.3. The 4L60 is dog shit in all of them, so who cares? But the whole rear seat and rear window can be folded down so that you have a full 8x4 bed. The bed sides are toolboxes that lock. It comes with a lockable tonneau cover. You can just remove the back window. You can leave the back window and just fold down the back seats and have a bed to lay in with HVAC blowing on you if you sleep in it. It is the shit. It is the best truck ever.
Gotcha, bitch.
I like Avalanches.
I think they're great.
Yeah.
They're ugly. Don't get me wrong. They're ugly.
Yeah.
All right. So
I almost bought one for my first tour.
I have a question. So since you know a lot about them, I've never owned one. I've seen a bunch of them, sold a bunch of them, but I just show people how the back seat folds down, and then after that, they're like, "Oh, I'm sold. I'm going to go camping so much," and then they never fucking do. Yeah. But what is the deal with the plastic ups? Are there in the
Well, you know what it is, right?
No, I don't. That's why I'm.
The Avalanche is it's literally a Suburban.
Right, with the back part
with
cut
the
out.
back cut off. Yeah, so those are covering that C pillar or D pillar.
So they just left it in there.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
it's just aesthetic.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lower cladding. I don't know why they did the lower cladding.
It looks weird.
Well, there's your tow rig cheat codes, boys.
Dude,
Get your tow rigs.
and there's an 8.1 liter one. It's a 3/4 ton. I want to do a diesel swap in one of those.
Jesus. Well, you want to do the?
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, so he pointed out that actually GT Radio copied me, but then FD posted it, so whatever. But I don't know. This is the video that I'm talking about.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's Clefairy!
But anyways, GT Radio basically like took that platform and then had somebody get in Photoshop and redo it and post that as their teaser announcement, right?
I hate to spoil it for you, but I think if you went back last year and looked at GT's posts too, I think that they did it last year too.
Oh, maybe I copied them?
I think you did.
I'm gonna have to look.
Or
Gotcha, bitch!
I don't actually like this is so you know. This is for television. I don't actually care. I think it's funny.
Yeah, I know, I know.
But when I saw it, I was like, those motherfuckers didn't even tag me. I was like, that's totally my meme.
you're so vain, you probably think this meme is about you.
Yeah, that's what it is. All right. So, anyways, so then that was like basically that joke was for context. So then I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, what are they going to, because at the time I thought it was FD that did that. I just saw that FD posted it. So I'm like, great, now they're copying me, And then I was like, what are they going to do next? They're going to start their own podcast. And literally I scrolled up and that was what I saw. I was like,
See, I'm going to spoil all your fun. They have, I see all the FD stuff that happens because I'm in the FD Discord. And they announced in like November that they were starting a podcast.
November was still...
Yeah, that was still after we started.
Yeah, for sure. No, so it's weird why they did it. I don't know like what their intention was. I mean, I think it was to get more of that like driver interaction. But I haven't seen it. You guys watched a little bit of it, but
we watched a little of it, yeah.
Yeah, I watched like all of Matt Fields and then a little bit of Osbo's, and a little bit of Gary's too. But I didn't get hardly anywhere through those.
Yeah, I watched a little bit. I skipped to the part where Field was talking about his interaction about Osbo, and yeah, I mean, he's just talking like a driver, They just talk like Ricky Bobby. What do I do with my hands? So
I kind of think they're doing it like we talked earlier. I think they're doing it just to kind of have another voice in the scene.
Well, the problem was, I think that the drivers were always talking about how little FD was doing for them versus the drivers doing. I know way too much about Formula Drift, and I'll keep.
We're all ears.
We're probably wrong.
Yeah, I know. I know a
wrong.
lot about it, and so like the drivers have been like not very happy with what FD was doing for them, and so I don't know if FD's announced it, but they doubled the prize pot this year. So 2023, the prize money has doubled from previous years.
Okay.
That's good.
So it is good that they're doing that for them. They took back their 37 driver rule. I don't know. I mean, I feel like probably should have announced this, but so they took back that 37 driver rule. So the fields are unlimited again, which is good for everybody to see more drivers, see more qualifying, have more opportunities. And then they started that podcast, which I think the podcast is really good because FD wasn't doing enough to like intro the drivers and like sell the drivers to the general FD fan base.
I think it'll be good for a lot of the dead time, the dead air in the live streams. Plugging that in.
Yeah.
I think that'll help a lot, keeping people like engaged.
Yeah, no, it is true. Because they did that like the FD profile thing before, which I think was like a good like start to that. But also that's just like drivers doing an interview, which is a lot less, or it's way more formal than doing a podcast.
Yeah, it becomes more publicized.
Yeah.
Robotic, the way they speak and shit.
Yes.
So,
I mean, they should just fix the dead space in general.
I think some of the stuff that they do personally is like they should do more like advertising almost. Like you never see Formula Drift really advertising. Not that I can tell anyways. And I feel like I'm in the space, definitely not as much as you, but I'm in the space. So if anybody was going to see the advertising, I feel like I ought to see it, you know, and
Yeah,
I don't see it, you know?
I agree with that in the sense that like their SEO is not great. And even in the bare minimum, you know, like if you Google Formula Drift, it's just like their website and like whatever, but it's like, what are you supposed to engage with, I guess? And like,
Yeah.
you know, I think that they need to find a way to capture the audience outside of what's already there. I think that's the
Right.
issue that I have with drifting is that like, it's just like paintball. I talked to somebody about this. When I was younger, I was super into paintball. And I just started like being intrigued about it and looking it back up, and professional paintball still exists. Yeah. But who ever hears about a professional paintball tournament in their hometown?
Never.
WNBA. Everyone knows it exists, but where the fuck do you ever see it?
Yeah, no, but like, I mean, extreme sports are interesting. Like, I think that a non-paintball player can watch paintball and still be like, oh, wow, oh.
Yeah.
And drifting is the epitome of that. You can
Right,
get
yeah.
Joe Schmo to come watch it, and he's like, whoa, that's crazy, dude. Like,
Yeah.
look at that. And it could be the most dog shit run ever, but it's cool. It's a car sideways. It's making smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's so interesting that like drifting in general doesn't advertise to the general public more than they're advertising to the audience that already knows what they are.
All right. Well, give us one piece of advice you'd give to anyone that's just looking to get into drifting. Key advice.
All right. For the love of God, drifting is not your number one priority. Make sure your life is in order and that you have a stable income and that you have your shit together before you spend all of your money on drifting. It's not worth it. I'll tell you right now, as a person who's been around FD a very long time, there are very few people who make money doing it. Most of them spend money doing it, even in the top level. So if you like doing it, that's great. Do it in your free time. Use your extra money. Don't spend all your money drifting. Make sure your life is in order first. That's my only advice. I don't care about car setup or anything else. Don't make it priority number one.
Stupid.
That's good.
Yeah, that was actually really good advice.
Yeah, for sure.
I love that. All right. Well, that's it for this one, guys. Really do appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and grab the merch. But that's it. See you guys next week. Peace.
Yeah, I definitely think that FD doesn't